A quick thank you to the T5 peeps. Bob the Dragon, Data Magnet, Cat Crab Lobster, Duck Machine, Try Again 95, Astray the Dreamer, Mesic, Budic Joel, German Chemist, Casper Arnholtz, and Chaos to Must. Thank you very much. Anyways, time for the story. When it comes to the science of linguistics, a wealth of information about humans can be gleaned from this simple fact. The various species of the aggregate have, on average, 7 words for trouble. The Glint have 10, but 6 of those words were added after encountering humans. Humans, however, have over 407,631 words for trouble. Dubious Review of Ontological Species Studies, The Care and Feeding of Humans, Trouble Right Here. Published by Glass and Steel, The Care and Feeding of Humans, Translation Engine 3.14159. That is pretty impressive, Nate said. The humans had set up a perimeter around the ground station, and Nerif was able to finally set down her nodes. She rubbed her arms while looking at the mess. The ground station was shaped round like a powwow show, but in this case, the hole in the middle has been filled with equipment and the power source. The ring around it would be where the crew and the access information collected by the station. Or normally, it would have been. There were 2 doors in the outer ring, on opposite sides. Both doors had been damaged. One door was missing while the other door was bent, but still attached to the station. The interior of the station was dark, when normal protocol would dictate that the automatic lights would come on whenever it was sensed movement. She couldn't begin to tell how much damage had been done to the equipment itself, given that there were no indicator lights of any kind. Nerif guessed that it was a lot of damage. Quallen and Quirrell were already scouting through the wreckage. Quirrell had his back under one of the desks and Alan flipping switches in an important-looking machine. Nate and Zoe were setting up doors. Tara was feeding Fubsby and trying to distract her from climbing in, on, over, or through the debris and Quirrell's legs. Nerif felt helpless. She didn't have knowledge to help repair the equipment. Fubsby really only needed one distraction person, and she wasn't strong enough to help Nate and Zoe with the door repair. Alan swore over something he'd found, and Nerif headed over. Is there anything I can do to help? I feel useless, Nerif said. Actually, yeah, Alan said. Would you mind holding the light here, so that I can see what these wires should have been attached to? He handed her a portable light and indicated a spot where the light should shine. Nerif held the light and Alan swore again. It looks like some sort of animal has been at the wires. I'll have to do some stripping and trimming, but I think we can get some things going again. Quirrell's voice from under the desk near the center of the powwow show said, don't counter that. He slid out and held up his fingers to show some liquid and grit on them. It looks like the batteries are fried along with some of the wiring. I'm not sure how much can be repaired. Nerif's stomach did a flip. That means we can't talk to the ship, right? Her voice was surprisingly calm. She wasn't going to upset the nesters, so she would remain calm. Quirrell brushed his hands off his pants. Well, not from here. Not today. We'll probably have to go back to the shuttle and contact them. The sound of the storm dropped noticeably, and Nerif looked at the door. Nate and Zoe evidently had jury-rigged something to make the door work. Jury-rigged. Sounded like that illegal thing that might happen when the Earth's judiciary system. But Nate had explained recently that jury-rigged was a nautical term. Nerif suspected that if Nate couldn't be a space cowboy, he would want to be a space sailor or a pirate. Nate and Zoe were heading over to where Alan and Quirrell were still poking at the equipment bits. It looks like one door was destroyed by an animal, Zoe said, as she stepped around the droid. It was scuttling about, moving debris into piles. Organic in one pile, possibly salvageable equipment into another pile. The second door looks like it was damaged by wind or the interior side, so I'm guessing that it happened second. Animal breaks in, storm wrecks second door, Nate said. But the damage looks months old, so why didn't the sensors indicate a storm months ago? Quirrell smiled. Oh, I can answer that one. Based on what I could find on the records, a magnetic storm hit and damaged the operating system about 9 months ago. That caused a cascade of errors. First, The station has been dutifully sending the day's data burst every day. The first day's data, over and over and over, which is why there haven't been any records of storms. Nate groaned. I know better than to trust technology. Querif nodded. Second, the strike caused the power failure in the primary battery that allowed the animal to break in. Even if there were enough power to send an alarm, it wasn't going anywhere. The battery was probably further drained by repeated attempts to send the alarm. The animal, or animals, played merry hob with the electronics, and we now have a ground station that's... He gestured at the damage. Zoe's lips twitched. Merry hob. Querif waved his hands. Whatever. Lots of damage, havoc, dogs of war, whatever you want to call it. We've got it. Nerif sighed. Is it irreparable, or do we have to order a replacement? Because it won't be good business to move forward with the expedition if we have to order a replacement. Querif looked at Alan. What do you think? Alan looked at the spaghetti of wires. Give us a day, then we'll know more. Nerif nodded. She headed over to Terif, who hadn't been part of the conversation. He was now trying to distract Bubsby from bothering the droid. Terif looked up. I heard. Not much for two of us to do, right? Terif nodded. Unless somebody needs me to hold the light again. She looked at Bubsby, a smile on her face, and leaned forward. It was hard to tell in the dark station, but... Is it me, or is Bubsby a solid dark grey now? Terif nodded. I know. We're right. So I'm thinking it's either based on her being warmer now, or that she's better fed now. When we first had her, she was really hungry. If you have several young, and your lightest colored ones are the hungriest, it's easier to divide the food. Just guess, but I think that's what it is. It sounds good, Nerif said. Fits all the facts and has a plausible explanation. The only problem is... She stopped and looked at Terif with a smile. He smiled back. Yeah, we'll never be able to test it. Nerif laughed. Because you'll never let her get that hungry again. Just then, the lights flickered and came on. You fixed the lights, Nerif said. Not really, Alan admitted. We just powered them directly into the battery that we brought to replenish the power for the station. But light will help us figure out if we can fix anything. And the storm is breaking, observed Zoe, looking out the window. Nerif looked too and saw the purple rolling clouds moving away from their location. But how long? Nerif asked. If someone wants to try and check the records tonight while Alan and I are working on repairs, that would be fine. I might give some insight into the storm patterns, Querif said. I'll see what I can find, Nerif said. It will give me something to do. As the true dark of evening approached, Nerif saw the waving light again through the window. Zoe, the light's back. Zoe walked over to the window. If the weather holds tomorrow, I think we should probably check that out. Zoe stepped outside onto the ground station and the tent and loaded her weapon with something, before taking careful aim and firing it towards the light. The light didn't seem to respond in any way. What did you do? Nerif asked. I fired a transponder as close to that thing as I could, so that we can find it tomorrow. We'll go on a little trip while Querif and Alan work on the station. Maybe collect some samples. So either way, the trip won't be a complete waste. Zoe and Nerif watched the light a while longer. It was almost hypnotic in the way it moved, and then, suddenly, flailed around wildly, and then went out. Uh-oh, Nerif said, and turned to look at Zoe. Did it get eaten? Or was it doing the eating? Zoe pointed out the window again, and the light was back, waving back and forth like seaweed in gentle waves. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and